there's no real bad vegetables, good vegetables, they're all good. And getting as many of the, especially the leafy or any vegetables at all, it's all about getting colour, fruits, vegetables, everything into your diet, fish, balance, even some meats, things like that. There should be no real restriction. Any restrictions on diets is really, well, for one thing, I'm not trying to promote any kind of a diet. This is just a way of eating. That it works for me, and it's how I start eating to try control my own arthritis. That's all I'm trying to do here. But one vegetable that stands out for blood pressure, and just generally, if you like one of these, for want of a better description, is super veg, is beetroot. Delicious, but that vibrant colour, it's absolutely packed with antioxidant vegetable or compounds, and it's just a great thing to build into your diet. And it is a great base for soups as well. Now soups, again, great way of bringing vegetables into your diet. They fill you up, they bring that fibre, the nutrients and everything else. And you can make a big pot of them and they just stop the snacking. You can just eat these kind of soups. This is just a simple puree soup I'm going to make with beetroot. Now, another one I might make in a later video is the Polish style of beetroot soup, or borscht, which is more of a consomme, brothy style, which is using a bone broth, which is absolutely delicious as well. If anything, it's probably even my favorite soup. But it's kind of a bit of a process to make. You have to make the stocks and so on. But this is just a very, very simple, basic beetroot soup. I'm going to use a few potatoes in it, not too many, just to bring the whole thing together and kind of thicken it a little bit. Onions, beetroot, leeks, celeriac. You could use just normal stem celery. It's whatever you have. Some carrots, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of bay leaf. Very, very simple soup. And nothing really to go wrong with this. And really, it's a great one to have to be able to, just one of those really good, nutritious soups, meals that you can have at any time. So to make this soup, all you need to do is, I'm going to use a little bit of coconut oil just to sweat it off. About a generous teaspoon of oil. And then my vegetables, which I've already pre-cut. There we are. And basically what I'm going to do is, into my pot, I'm going to add everything. Absolutely everything at the same time. Now, you might need to cook some of these down a little bit. They will fit, trust me, I hope. And what I'm going to do is sweat all of this down then, and a nice leisurely pace. It looks like a lot here, but the volume of that will reduce substantially. Into that at this point, pop about half a cup of water, just to stop any chance of it burning or anything like that. Lid on it. And then just allow it to start sweating down over about 15-20 minutes. And that'll all start to break down a little bit. Then we'll add a pinch of salt in there and then continue the cookery. So that's literally all the ingredients went in at the same time that time. Now, as my soup has been sweating down for about 5 minutes thereabouts. And if you think it's in any way dry yourself, just add a little drop more water. With a nice tight fitting lid, you're not going to have any difficulties there at all. And just let it just kind of cook its way down. And the veg has to soften up, you'll get a lot more volume in this. This is a lovely thick soup that we want to make. So, a little drop more water there. And just let it cook its way down. And don't be stressing at all with it. Now this has just been sweating down for about 10 minutes. And at this stage now I'm just going to add a pinch of salt. It's the first time I've added it now. And the reason is I wanted to cook it down a little bit before I added too much any salt. And I'm just going to add a little bit of black pepper in there as well. Not a lot needed. And now, as you can see, those vegetables are starting to cook down nicely, get them nice and manageable. And again, if this is in any way dry, just add a little drop more water into it. Very, very simple. And just let everything just cook its way down and soften up, because this is where you're developing that flavour. As I mentioned there, I'm just going to add it myself, another about a half cup of water in there, and then just because I don't want any kind of burning or to be catching in the bottom. As you can see, there's plenty of moisture in there. And then just let it all sweat and kind of cook down nicely. So having allowed this to cook for about 25 minutes, and all those vegetables are all softening up nicely, at this stage I'm just going to top it up with some water. Now you could use vegetable stock, and you can pop a stock cube in here if you want. I don't think there's any necessary for this soup. I think there's a lot of flavour in it. But again, what you'd like to do yourself. So I'm going to just top that all up, and then bring that up to a nice gentle simmer and allow that to cook until all the vegetables and everything else becomes nice and tender, just before blending it up. Now you can also keep that as a nice kind of a broth, just as is. It's whatever you like yourself, really. But whatever about that, it still has to cook, so I'm going to let that simmer away now until everything becomes nice and tender. So having allowed that simmer for about 15 minutes, 15-20 minutes, it's until all the vegetables are tender, so it's hard to put an exact time in it. I'm just going to now just remove my bay leaf. I was using fresh bay leaf, the dry one, perfectly fine as well. I'm going to leave the sprig of thyme in there, that's going to break down. And then it's only a simple case of just turning it off and giving it a blend in. Now you could use the liquidizer, but I think the old hand blender is the easiest. And then it's just a case of just blending it all up and then adjusting the seasoning. Now one last thing I'm just going to do with this is I'm going to put about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in. And what that does is it boosts, it gives a nice little bit of acidity to the dish, because the sweet beetroots are quite sweet anyway. But also the acid makes the colour go a lot more vivid.